Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Somewhere between science and superstition.
We have such sights to show you.
Strange Eons. Welcome to Strange Eons Radio. That's Eric over there.
Hello.
That is Vanessa over there.
Hello.
I'm Kelly. Big weekend, you guys, because there was a movie coming out that I was very excited for.
Oh.
And in preparation for it, I watched all 4 Indiana Jones movies.
Wow.
How's the hold up?
The first one holds up spectacularly.
Excellent.
The second one, also very good. Harrison Ford is at top handsomest
Aww.
actor ever in Temple of Doom.
Yeah, the movie started him up even more.
He lost a couple of pounds. I don't know if he did that on purpose because this was supposed to be a prequel. But he just looks so ridiculously handsome that it almost made me angry. But then I just started masturbating furiously.
Oh my God.
Always a good solution.
The third one. So for me, it was always, I loved the first one. I liked the second one. I liked the third one a little less.
Mm-hmm.
And that still kind of ran that way with me. I think the third one is a really neat father-son movie.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There's a lot of good humor, all of that stuff. But it just wasn't, my cup of tea.
Yeah. Their interactions save the film.
Absolutely. They are both so charismatic. That,
Yeah.
And there's so many nice moments in there, including River Phoenix as young Indiana Jones
yeah.
at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he is escaping and running across a circus train, which after watching The Fabelmans made me go, I bet you Spielberg had been wanting to put a circus train into a movie for, 40 years by that point.
Did he also play young Indy in the TV show?
No, that was,
Okay, that's right. Couldn't remember.
now I can't remember that kid's name. He was a really good actor too.
Yeah.
So, and I remember liking some of that show.
Yeah, I would have liked maybe that guy to be. He's too old probably by the time they shot Crystal Skull, but he would have been more fun than Shia LaBeouf.
Oh yeah, well, Sean Patrick Flannery.
Flannery? Is that who it
Does
was?
that sound familiar?
I don't
Yeah.
know.
That's yeah.
Huh.
Then Crystal Skull.
Sure.
So, I think that there is a lot to like in this movie. I never had a problem with the nuking the fridge. That always felt very much like classic Indiana Jones, and in fact, a little more believable than him throwing out an inflatable life raft in Temple of Doom as the plane is going down, and then them landing on a mountain in a life raft and tobogganing down the Matterhorn.
That's a fair point. Yeah.
And so I thought, the nuking the fridge, I can buy this just fine.
Mhm.
And Shia LaBeouf showing up, I was actually okay with that. I think he's a great actor. I don't like his character, turning him into a Marlon Brando kind of
Yeah.
guy who actually calls Harrison Ford Daddy-O at one point.
Yeah.
That was wrong. And I thought that the missed opportunity was for him to be Indiana Jones' nerdy son, who has to then come on this adventure, and his arc could have been a real arc.
Yeah.
But the real problem comes with the introduction of Karen Allen as Marion Ravenwood. And I remember when I first watched it, I thought, man, how the mighty have fallen. Because I used to think she was just a great actor, and she is so bad in this. But now, as I've watched more of Spielberg's work since then, it became really clear to me that Steven Spielberg did not want to make movies like that anymore. He wanted to make dramas and,
spy films.
yeah, exactly. Things like that. He just didn't have the love for this series anymore. And then I realized, okay, that's the problem. I think that he directed Karen Allen to, well, I don't even know if he directed her. I think that she was so lost with her character in this script that she was just like, how am I even supposed to pull off some of this dialogue, which is really cheesy, and what they were making her do? She comes off as like unhinged.
Yeah.
But I think it's just her scrabbling for some understanding of this weird character. Even so, I think that probably would have been a fine place to end the series. He and Marion get married,
Sure.
and it could have been fine. There was some pretty dodgy special effects in it.
Yeah, that's about the only thing that sticks in my head there is the going through the jungle with the cartoons running around them.
The cartoon monkeys was hard, and Shia LaBeouf swinging on vines. I think that was a scene that probably should have been left out.
I think I remember, I mean, it's been a while, but I remember the aliens, and that was like a real jump the shark moment for me.
That is a weird thing for Indiana Jones. It kind of fits if you just think about all of the stuff that he has done beforehand. It's like, well, of course, why wouldn't we just throw in this legend now?
Right.
Except that it's always been holy relics.
Right.
And then it becomes aliens. And I think I've told you, I don't like my magics getting mixed.
Yeah.
Sure.
Agreed. Yeah.
That might have been it.
And part of what makes the first one so good is the level of how he just barely gets out of this shit all the time.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily even his actions that save him. It's circumstances every once in a while.
Yeah.
And then they kind of, like you said, with the raft and everything like that, turned him into a weird superhero thing, which kind of gets away from what made him such an amazing character in that first film.
Yeah, I was fine with the raft stuff because he always seems to play it as, I can't believe that worked.
Right.
Well, yeah, that's true.
So I was fine with all of that stuff. It just, it starts falling apart with Crystal Skull for story, for everything, because I just don't think anybody's heart was really in it. But the one thing that really struck me was I was looking at Indiana Jones. Remember when that came out and it was like, I can't believe he's coming back for another Indiana Jones movie. And now looking back at him, I'm like, boy, he looks really good for a 70-year-old or whatever he was, 68-year-old man. He looks so young. And so that leads me into my first movie, which I hope you'll discuss with me, Vanessa.
Sure.
I saw Dial of Destiny.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
I think there is a lot to like in this movie. But I have to wonder why. Who wanted to see 80-year-old Harrison Ford running across the world?
I don't know why, and I don't know whose decision it was. I think the advertising seemed really fun. Like, I thought the trailer was really like catchy, but it is tough. It's a tough sell because you have to remember that Indiana Jones's story takes place at a certain time. So old man Indiana Jones still taking place in what's almost an archaic time for us to look back on, where it's like the 70s, 60s, 70s. And it's like, oh God, he's old at this time. Like, there's a lot of building of pieces. But I don't know. I feel like I thought a lot of people would see it.
Not so true. No.
No. Apparently, I mean, I was pretty much the only one in the theater.
It was lightly attended for me as well. I liked a lot of it.
Yeah.
And I actually thought the opening 20 minutes of the CGI Harrison Ford mostly looked okay.
It did. It was, there was a couple of weird moments, and there was like a wide shot of him jumping over the train where it was not a human being making any kind of movement there.
Yeah.
But like all the close-up stuff of him, like his facial expressions, the movements, I thought those worked great. They should have messed with his voice.
I noticed that too.
That was
40-year-old Harrison Ford sounded pretty croaky.
He sounded a lot. I mean, they've done a similar thing I've noticed in the Marvel movies where they let the actor say the lines without, Robert Downey Jr. sure didn't sound, 16 or 18 in that film. And this had a similar problem there, but the actual movements and the visuals and the storytelling were so fun. That really worked for me. I think the film, I really liked the film up until I think the ending.
The third act.
The third act
just completely shits the bed.
It wasn't even, I could have done it up until maybe even the last 5 minutes. The last 5 minutes
Yeah.
were like so cheesy and hadn't just felt like such nothing and didn't really wrap up the entire structure of the story that they set up, which was a good structure of like he's lost a son, she's lost a father, they're finding each other.
Yeah.
So what lost it for you?
Well, I'll tell you, part of it in Crystal Skull was I always feel like Indy at the end, he believes just as much as he has
Mm-hmm.
to for whatever it is he's doing to work.
Mm-hmm.
So Raiders of the Lost Ark, he doesn't get to see what's going on. In fact, he tells Marion, close your eyes. Basically, we cannot look upon the face of God or
Right.
it'll destroy us. And so he never gets to actually see what happened. They just open their eyes and everybody is dead.
True.
In Temple of Doom, he sees the priest rip out the guy's heart, which is still beating, basically just stick his hand in and pull it out without leaving a wound. But there's some indication that he doesn't quite believe what he saw. And there's some indication to the audience that we're not even sure if that was a real moment or if that was part of the stuff that's going on down there,
Mhm.
literally hell and the drug that he eventually gets put under, which makes him, almost kill Short Round and all of that stuff. So there's that. And then at the end of The Last Crusade, the old knight there and everything, all of these somehow feel just slightly possible.
Mhm.
When he gets into Crystal Skull, he actually sees the spaceship.
Mhm.
They're supposed to be interdimensional, but then he basically while the villain there is seeing everything that was going on, he's running with everybody to get out of the temple as it's falling down. I wish that he didn't get to see the spaceship because that made me feel like you're seeing too much. It's hard for me to believe you don't believe in this stuff when every time we see you in a movie, you are faced with something that is supernatural or
Right.
whatever.
Right.
And then that's kind of where it happened here too.
Yep.
This is a time travel movie,
Oh, shit.
and Indy goes back in time, and
Yep.
I would have liked to have seen the villain go back in time, get
Mhm.
his wish, and find out that he went to the wrong time. Maybe
Yeah.
he could have ended up in like prehistoric times or something and gets
Yeah.
eaten by a T-Rex or something. But
Yeah.
where they ended up going was awfully convenient considering what Indy is teaching at the beginning of the movie and
Yes.
stuff like that. And also there was a moment there where Indy is saying what he wants to do.
Mhm.
And I'm like, oh, please don't let it end like this.
Right.
And yet when it didn't end like that and I saw where it was going, I was like, I would have rather it ended like that.
Yeah, it's weird how many people go back in time. There are a lot.
hmm
I was like, "Oh, you're also gonna be there? Oh, and you are also going to be there. There's a lot of you. This is too many." And I think that you're right. I think it would have been really good if only Mads had been successful.
hmm
But there were enough clues earlier on that whatever the choice is goes wrong. Like there are enough clues when they open the casket thing
Yeah,
that it's like you don't even need a full answer as to exactly what happened. We could have seen just enough to know.
absolutely.
Um, and then having Indy have that moment of it was very strange. And then at the very, very end, coming back, it was just stupid. It was just a stupid ending.
Yeah, I mean, it was nice to see a very brief shot of Karen Allen given a chance to kind of not look unhinged,
Yeah, no, she was great.
and the way they ended their relationship, I thought was fine. I I I hate to say it, I would have been fine with the old time travel paradox of everything. You accidentally changed time, but it was for the good, so nobody cares. Where Mutt is not dead or something like that.
They
But
just didn't want to bring him back.
no, I get it. Yeah, his his troubles have probably made him unable to work with ever again. So.
That means like I loved what's her name from Fleabag. She was great. I think she did a terrific job in this film. I liked her little sidekick. I liked a lot of what was going on, but every time they tried to bring in something from the older films, I felt like it was a bit of a stumble. Like with the guy, I can't remember his name now, but
Sala.
his friend who's like, I brought my passport because I want to go on one last adventure. And he's like, no, it's not going to be an adventure. How pissed would you be when he comes back and he's like, actually, I had a big adventure, pal. I know you're going to die and never have another one, but sorry. Like, what? Why even have that there? Like, he should have been like, I wish I could go with you, but my knees aren't working, or just something like, or like, Indy says, yeah, okay, you can come along. And then he leaves him behind, or I don't know, just something like, it just seems so mean. And then at the end, the guy's like, I don't care. It's fine that I didn't get to go with you. Like, what the fuck?
I wonder if Everything Everywhere All at Once had come out just a year earlier, if instead of the girl from Fleabag, we get Ke Kwan showing up as, we find out that as an adult, he has something that he has to go after, and Indy gets wrapped up in his adventure instead.
Yeah, that would have been fun too.
Yeah, I would like to have seen.
But there'd be no sex appeal. You need a hot lady running around.
Yeah, come on, you got Harrison Ford. You're covered.
Oh.
Well, I mean, my fear was they were going to try and turn that into some kind of believable attraction between a young, beautiful woman and an old man.
No, thank God, no.
Yeah.
They did not play that. Thank you. And I will say the director did a really good job of putting in the spirit of Steven Spielberg. It felt spiritually like he didn't get everything right. But the way that he played the action scenes, the way that he played the interactions with the characters, the way that he did certain shots, I was like, this feels like someone who really cares and really wants this to be like a true Indiana Jones movie.
I agree with that, but to the detriment of the actual storyline where Indy is now wanted by the police, yet goes to the airport, gets on an international flight with no issue.
That was a little weird.
Comes back from time and is no longer wanted by the police, I guess. Doesn't have to worry about that.
Yeah, there you go.
So there were things
asleep.
that
It's fine.
I feel like, as he's writing the script, he's like, yeah, nobody's going to think about that.
Yeah.
I will tell you, the two of you have convinced me I'm fine not watching this film.
I will say this. If you want to see this movie, seeing it in the theater is probably going to be a better experience than watching it at home.
Yeah. You don't want to, I wouldn't want to have seen this movie at home. I think the theater was a good spot for it. And if you have a mild interest in it, I would say check it out. I really do think it was fun enough. It definitely has weird moments. I think it's way better than Crystal Skull.
I would say yes.
Yeah. Okay. Like a way better movie than that. Like, yeah.
More satisfying for sure.
All right. Well, I'm supposed to talk about something, I guess. Jeez Louise. What else have I seen? So I actually went and I got a preview screening because of going to Emerald City. My name was pulled out of a hat for potentially having my name pulled out of a hat again to see Talk to Me.
Oh, okay.
So I saw that.
Which one is Talk to Me?
So Talk to Me, you might have seen a trailer for it. It's a girl is has this hand that when it's like almost like a party trick. Like kids love to like hold this hand for like a TikTok challenge. And when you hold it and say certain things, like you can see ghosts or you're kind of interacting with another being that comes through the hand.
Is this like a severed hand or something?
It is a severed hand. It's
okay.
the severed hand of a fortune teller or whatever.
This A24?
Yeah, it's an A24 film. But clearly bought. A24, I don't think created it. It's one that they picked up from an Australian filmmaker, and really good, really dark, really
I've
good.
seen a lot of good. Didn't it do like Fantasia Fest or something like that?
Yeah, I think so.
I remember seeing a lot about it being
damn good film. I didn't have high hopes because of just how it was. And then like it starts off and I was like, oh, this is going to be a stupid movie. I was like, oh, well, it's got to be A24, so I'm sure there's something in here. But it gets the storytelling is actually very, very well done, and it's very disturbing. It's very distressing, but in
Well,
a good way.
Huh, that sounds very interesting to me.
sounds good.
Talk to me, talk to me. All I want is a little conversation.
They should have had that in there.
Anyways, so I guess we'll just go back in the Wayback Machine for me
Sure.
for 1984's Fear City
Mm.
from Abel Ferrara. Shall we say a dark filmmaker with Miss 45 and a few of his other disturbing films. This is much closer for Abe. It's kind of for mainstream almost.
Yeah.
Is Manhattan, but because Abel seems not to get out of there. But this one stars Tom Berenger, Billy D. Williams, and Melanie Griffith. So probably one of the earlier big name groups he put together.
Yeah.
It's for him, it's almost a mainstream film. If any other director had done this, it'd be like the sleaziest thing they'd ever done, because the whole thing is it's not quite a serial killer. He starts off just injuring strippers and then ends up eventually killing him. And Tom Berenger and his partner run a talent agent, I guess, that sends out strippers to strip clubs. I don't know if this is a real thing or not, but
Right.
sure, why not? And of course, Melanie Griffith is not in one of the sleazy kind of ones. She's like in this theater
Okay.
where she performs for a theater crowd.
Burlesque or something.
No, it's just straight strip.
Oh,
And
okay. All
the
right.
show belongs in any strip club, but
Jeez.
the venue is very fancy.
Wow.
The villain's kind of a crack up to me. It's 1984, so he's a martial arts killer.
Oh, that's right.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And Tom Berenger is a boxer that killed a guy in the ring.
Aw.
So the final fight is amusing. It's well done, but it's still kind of funny because this guy, I think this is a guy that learned martial arts on set.
Oh no.
Because he does the cliched kind of stances, and he looks like a Hollywood martial artist. He doesn't look like somebody who actually knows what he's doing. And of course, he uses nunchucks at some point.
Yeah.
But he starts off with like a razor blade and very simple stuff. And then I don't know, they decided partially way in the writing, we got to make this killer more interesting. Let's make him a martial artist. And he uses a samurai sword at one point. It's very random killer, but it's a solid film.
Man, I love this movie. Tom Berenger is so handsome in this.
Yeah, this definitely his primary acting period was the
Yeah.
80s.
And Billy D. Williams is the cop that's got a hard on for him. This like, I'm gonna get you.
Shut you down.
And then Melanie Griffith is so beautiful. And I watched this just recently, maybe 2 months ago, and I was just like, who is this smoking hot chick? And finally the credits roll. I was like, that was Melanie Griffith?
It's gotta be
Weird.
pre-roar.
It's pre.
It's post Roar. She was
Oh,
like
is
a
it?
kid in Roar.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was her. I thought it was really early for her too, but then I realized I looked it up and she'd done tons of shit by
Oh,
this
man.
point. This was,
She just hadn't.
Teens
She
or
didn't
more
have her
stuff.
her signature cute girl look.
Yeah, she still has the weird voice.
Yeah.
The sounds like she's been sick for a week
Mhm,
voice
mhm.
that she often seems to have, and a little wasted in this film. I think she could have she starts off as seeming like she's going to be a main player, and then when shit really goes down, they give her back on heroin and she completely disappears
Yeah,
from the
don't
movie.
they suddenly turn her into a junkie again?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But the early part, she's really good, and it's just a good film. I mean, the guy knows how to make sleazy shit
It is
work.
so sleazy.
Mhm.
I mean, not gonna lie, that is why I love it. It's just like watching it, you're like, oh my God.
I believe 70% of the movie takes place in strip clubs.
Yeah.
So it's just like, okay. But yeah, Tom Berenger's awesome in it, though. I really enjoyed his.
So you said this is 84, huh?
Yeah, I thought it was a little later than that, but it's 84, and it was Manhattan.
Billy D. Williams has just done Return of the Jedi, though. Then, so
yeah.
he's basically playing Lando Calrissian as a New York cop.
That's pretty accurate.
Excellent.
So yeah, it's out there in a lot of ways if you feel the need to watch.
I think it's on Prime.
Yeah, I believe that's where I watched it. Yep. But
Good call, Eric. You should have saved that one for a
for a
topic.
He's got so many movies. I'll do one of his movies for a topic at some point.
All right. Well, you guys are going to fight me on this.
Uh-oh.
Strange New Worlds.
I think I'm an episode or two behind. Maybe only one. I'm not sure.
Did you see the time travel episode?
Yes, I actually did.
You're caught. That was the most recent one. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I believe it was, wasn't it?
No.
I think there's one more.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The latest one, much better. But that time travel episode it made me want to just fucking kick my TV.
Oh, man. It was, you know what? Every time there's a time travel episode, it's pretty rough.
I know that it's a Star Trek trope, but I feel like it's been done better.
Oh, okay.
Even in the bad episodes, way better than they did this one. And I'll tell you this, for someone who wants Captain Pike in their Star Trek, they're doling him out in very, very small doses this season. And this guy that they're trying to pawn off on us as Captain Kirk is the most wooden fucking actor. He's got no charisma. And and then they throw in and make him have to deal with rom-com tropes in this time travel episode. I was like, fuck this show.
Oh, dear.
When, I was just so happy to find a Star Trek show that I liked again.
Yeah.
And now it's just turned into a
the problem
turd of a
is
show.
it's still a Star Trek show, but it's showing why you don't like Star Trek now, where it started off being the best that Star Trek could be. Yeah. And like you mentioned, the Law and Order episodes, I was curious. As I know, Edge of Tomorrow, I think it is.
That was the one with the back time travel.
Was it time travel? There's a one with Picard on trial with Q or something like that.
Which
I'm is
sorry.
Like one of the top episodes.
Right,
Yeah.
but I hated all of Next Generation.
Right, yeah,
Encounter
exactly.
at
But that's what I mean.
Farpoint.
But that was one of the most popular episodes of Next Generation.
I
Yeah.
see.
And there's been like 79 trial episodes throughout all the Star Trek episodes. So it's something they do regularly.
I get it, and I get
time
that
travel's the same kind of thing.
Yeah, I get that they that's the way they can tackle social issues is by having these kind of episodes. The time travel one was bad. It was just bad, badly acted, bad story.
I think, I did have a little bit of a redeeming moment because I didn't like the actor that they've had. Have we seen this guy before?
Yeah, he showed up. I think at Discovery maybe because it took me a minute to remember that when she walked onto the bridge.
Yeah,
I'm like,
was
who the
it
hell
him
is
or
this?
was
And
it
then I didn't
Sam?
really figure it was Kirk until like 2 or 3 seats later.
Yeah, because I thought
He was also in last season of Strange New Worlds.
Left an impact, you can tell.
Well, I remember him sucking and really, really hating him. And being like, what the fuck? Like, I don't want anything to do with Kirk and this stuff anyway. But I actually he grew on me a lot in this episode because he actually was a bit charismatic in places. And I was like, oh, good. You're like, I don't know, maybe he's hot. Don't give me that look. I'm not sure. Something about him was
He's
like,
not hot.
He's okay. He wasn't terrible.
He's spindly. You can't stand him next to Anson Mount, who is hot, and then tried to convince me that I want that guy instead.
They really don't. They don't let them be in the same scene together ever. I think for that reason.
Good point.
But it was an interesting kind of like discussion about, hating yourself and hating your heritage and figuring that out. It did end on such a depressing note, though, that I was really sad at the end. I was like, oh, God, she's even more alone. Oh, my God. So I'm hoping the next couple episodes are a little bit brighter in that direction.
They're not.
Well.
But I will say the only thing I enjoyed about it is in that season 1 episode where we see Kirk, it's a alternate timeline where Pike hasn't died.
Right.
And Kirk is not in control of the Enterprise during this specific moment that was detailed in the original series. Right. But in that alternate timeline, we see that Kirk and I can't remember her name.
Uhura?
No. Whoever he time traveled with.
Oh. the
can't remember.
security officer.
Yeah.
I can't
No,
remember
I
the
s-
name either.
they have some kind of relationship in that alternate timeline.
Oh.
So I was like, oh, this is interesting that they
It's like
have
a thread.
connected again.
Oh, that's
introducing
kinda
the
cool.
the option to do different shit.
Right. You know what
Right.
would make me happy? Kirk dies,
Mhm.
and the rest of the series is them knowing, oh shit, we have changed somehow. We've changed history.
It is
Mhm.
impressive how they managed to nail such a great actor for Spock, such a great actor for Uhura,
Mhm.
and then kind of a weird nerdy dork for who's supposed to be one of the studs of
Yeah,
Starfleet.
it is it has a big question mark with it for me. Like, I was never a fan. I think if they cast him during Discovery, then I'm not going to blame Strange New Worlds for this, because that's
That's
some
fair.
Discovery level shit right there. But
It almost feels like they said, you will only be compared unfavorably to William Shatner if we try to make you William Shatner-esque.
right,
Uh, but
you could
going
still
so
do
far
like a
away from
hero.
him,
Yeah, you could still do like a manly like hero. I mean, it's not hard. Like Riker has the same energy, right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
The guy doesn't have to look the same. He just has to feel like he's got that
A captain.
confidence and that.
Yeah, somebody that could captain a Starfleet.
Yes.
Starfleet ship.
Yes.
I think that Akiva Goldsman is a talentless hack who keeps
Agreed.
failing upwards.
Agreed.
And this is his show.
It-
So
his-
he's
it's
going
got his
to
name
he's going
on
to fuck
it.
it up.
I don't know. It's got a lot of the stuff has his name on it. So does so did the last like Picard season, which he hated. It has his name on it. He actually
Oh, you mean the only good
the
Picard
only
season?
good
he
Picard season.
he
And we
hated?
all know the truth. We all know that he had nothing to do with
Yeah,
it. But
This tracks.
yeah,
or
his-
Treks, as it
Oh,
were.
all right.
he's attached to a lot of shit, and it's hard to know how much he's putting his like weight behind certain things. But the less he's involved, the better things are. So hard to say.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not mad yet. I'm gonna keep going. I'm still enjoying it. I'm still having a good time. And again, I'm so glad that in the season, like the Doctor has more purpose. Like he's got something other than
Yeah.
his daughter in the
Yeah,
hollow
the
field.
next episode, even more so.
Excellent.
I remembered. Oh yeah, there's that the one I watched yesterday.
Yeah.
And yeah, so oh my God, what was I going to talk about? My brain. Ugh. Oh my
It's-
gosh. Oh
Well-
yeah. I was going to talk about Secret Invasion.
Oh, okay.
So I don't like this show.
I was going to just avoid talking about it because of the AI credits.
Oh, I
But-
mean, whatever. Like the AI credits are weird, and I think it's an interesting choice. They did like they had a team of artists. Those artists did make the art.
Right.
The artists understood that the art that they were making was going to have an AI filter put upon it.
Oh,
They agreed to that, and it is a concept that everyone put together.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. So that has really for me made it like it's fine. Like I'm not gonna be too mad about it. It's a little, we have a lot of question marks happening right now around AI, but it's just the show. It's just bad.
I don't know what happened to me maybe a year and a
Yeah.
half ago with Marvel where something just clicked off. I have not seen the last three
Which-
or four Marvel movies.
Which movie hurt you?
And I just didn't care anymore. I just got to a point. It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, the last couple ones I remember watching, I've liked the Spider-Man one with all
Yeah.
the Spider-Man in it.
Spider-Man
was great.
was great.
Spider-Verse is
Yeah.
great. But the Eternals or
Was
any
rough.
of those since then, I haven't seen a single
Thor
one.
was insulting.
Yeah, so I'm fine. I completely forgot this was existed even until the AI controversy
Right.
popped up.
Yeah. It's really deep cuts. Like if you have not seen um
Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel, thank you. I always want to say Ms. Marvel. If you have not seen Captain Marvel, you're going to be lost immediately. And I mean, seen it recently because there is like, oh yeah, remember that little kid at the very end in like one scene? She's a huge important role. Oh, you remember that guy who's played by the Australian dude who's a great actor and I really like him, but like he's going to have his Australian accent through this whole thing. You're going to have no idea what he's saying ever. And I'm great. I'm so happy he gets to do his real accent, but it's a thick fucking accent. And half the time his face is green and he's doing I'm just like, I can't with you. And then the
At the
whole
subtitle turn on time.
oh yeah, I really need to do that. And yeah, and like I don't care enough about Nick Fury to follow his story. I mean, I'm gonna watch
The-
it all, but I'm really like just not enjoying
The
it.
only Nick Fury I remember really, I mean, he's had some great shit in the movies, but
Mhm.
as far as the comics was what, Nick Fury versus Shield, that 12-issue miniseries I think he did,
Never.
phenomenal.
Hmm.
That's the best Nick Fury I remember ever reading. But other than that, he's just sort of a strange side character that they managed to make really interesting through some of the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
For me, at least.
I've been watching the show, and this might explain why I'm so lost because
Mhm.
I don't know that I ever finished Captain Marvel, so
Oh.
I might have to
You
watch
might need
that.
to rewatch it because like there's a lot of stuff in there that it's like weird, deep cuts per minute, like things that were said offhand or for like one sentence or whatever.
Well, I'll say this: I'm not enjoying the show,
Mhm.
but if it was just Samuel L. Jackson and Ben Mendelsohn like sitting in a diner
Sure.
talking and acting
They are
across each
both
other,
great.
That sounds great.
They are. Ben Mendelsohn is just so good in
He,
everything.
he is. I just wish I understood anything he said. It's like he's fucking awesome. I love him and his scenes with. I mean, the scene that he had with Sam Jackson, where it's like, "Tell me something I don't know."
Yeah,
Fucking great
I
scene.
loved that scene.
Like just two great heavy hitter actors. But then you've got Game of Thrones chick who I from this
Which
first
one? Do you
scene,
remember which one?
Khaleesi.
Oh,
I
okay.
can't remember her name.
Yeah,
And a lot of other British people. Because by the way, it's not filmed in fucking anywhere in
Right.
Russia. All of it's England. The whole time I'm like, that's just an English pub with like a Russian poster in it. I'm pretty sure I got drunk there. Like the whole time I'm like, I stumbled down that block for Sherzies. Like you can't hide. It is just
it's a
England,
very
people.
unique looking area.
It's man, has Soviet Russia never looked so much like fucking, the downtown London. Anyway, it's fine. But she's a tough one because I don't think she's a terrible actress, but she has had like several brain problems, including strokes and
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah. So when you see her face the first time, it looks like very one note, and her face is a little bit more droopy. Her eyes are a little more closed than what you would see in Game of Thrones. And I was like, the first thing I thought was like, did she have a stroke? And then the answer is like, she's had many strokes.
Oh no, I had no idea.
Yeah, so she's doing a good job, but she's not like a super strong actress compared to some of the other people there. And I don't know. I'll watch the rest of it. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
always-
the thing that I was so upset about is that Strange New Worlds comes on Wednesday,
Mhm.
Secret Invasion comes on Wednesday,
Mhm.
and I'm like, I'm getting nothing here, you guys.
You could watch one of them on Thursday, FYI.
Well, then I just have 2 days of no good show.
Or you stop watching shows you don't like.
How dare
That's
you.
always an option.
Yeah.
This is a service I do for the listener.
I feel the same
I
way.
think it's a service you do so you can do what you're doing.
To be mad.
That's right. Have fun with it on the show.
Fuck you. Don't you have something to talk about,
I
Eric?
do. I've got a show called The Bear,
Oh my God.
which
Season 2.
the first season
Mhm.
was flat out brilliant.
Mhm.
Just amazing television. And from everything I've read, one of the best portrayals of working a high not high level because it's a sandwich shop, but
Mhm.
high intensity restauranting. Very accurate, apparently, which makes me glad I've never really went into restaurant work. But the second one has started, and it started off really good. What made the first one good, the first season good, is you got a guy who comes in to take over a restaurant after his brother dies,
Mm.
and there's all kinds of problems. And through this series, they figure out how to work together and make things happen. And it's really, really interesting. This one is sort of like I kind of got to spoil a little bit, sort of, but he's starting to do a new restaurant, and they're starting to try to do a new restaurant. So everybody's fighting again. Like, you already did this. And I don't know if they hired new directors or if some show guy decided we are now going to do 60% of some of the episodes in a close-up that is
No.
top of head to chin.
No. Oh,
And I'm like, will you pull the fuck back?
guys.
Because the scenes also are pretty intense. The show's usually a half hour, and they have an hour-long episode, which is like the worst Christmas ever for this family. And this is a cliche thinking level Jersey kind of family where everybody's yelling over each other, and the mom, who is played by just blanked on her name. Halloween, Jamie Lee Curtis plays the mom, and you've got a lot of really strong people in it. The acting's always amazing, but it's this family, and I don't, even after watching the whole episode, I have no sense of this house because so much of it is shot so tight. There's one point where they pull back a little bit, and I see, that kitchen's it's not a big kitchen, but it's a lot larger than I thought it was.
Right.
Because the way they shot it, it looked like it was, two people are ass to nuts if you're standing in there. But it had a little more room. And it's making it much, much harder to watch this show.
That's a severe pet peeve of mine is like, you've got to establish the space you've got. And like, close-ups should really be reserved for the most intense moments.
Yeah.
And used like sparingly so that they have a bigger punch. And then those, 2/3 shots or even cowboy shots, those are great.
Yeah.
You can use them. It's fine.
There's a different scene with the bear and a girl he's kind of flirting with, sitting in a car talking, and it's all shot that way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a casual scene. It's a fun little flirtatious scene. I'm like, will you pull the damn camera back?
Oh, man.
Just a little, because it feels like one of them's going to die here shortly, or tell you they're going to be dying soon.
I wonder if they shot it in 4K and didn't tell the editor that like they just wanted more room. And the editor's like, damn, I don't know why we're all right.
Okay, push it in.
We're going to be really, I guess that would be the opposite. But anyway.
It's still incredibly well written, and it's still amazing performances, but it's definitely a step back from the first season.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Mm-hmm. But there's still 4 more episodes to see if they wrap up and don't all hate each other by the end.
Do you feel like, so what are they, 4 episodes in now?
I think it's 10 episodes, so about 6 episodes.
So has this problem gone through all 6 episodes?
No, it's been the last like 2 or 3. So it started off shooting just fine. So I was like, did they get a new director or did somebody change
DP.
something? Because it started, and the first time it happened, I was like, wow, that's a lot. And then that Christmas scene, that Christmas episode of an hour long. And like Dina watches movies differently than we do because she's just a casual movie watcher.
Mm-hmm.
So she maybe didn't think of it the way I did. But by the end of the episode, she's like, that was fucking exhausting and hard to watch.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, exactly. That's what those close-ups do. And that's why you don't use them.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And like you said, when you're in a car and you're close up on people like that, all you think is somebody's going to crash into them the whole time. You're like, someone's going to fucking murder these people. When is it going to happen? And when it doesn't happen, you're like, what the fuck? Yes. Why did I have to endure that?
But so hoping it'll get back and be awesome.
Well, all right, boys. Total bitch session
yeah,
today.
Yeah, really fun. We all have something we are not happy about.
Yeah, Fear City was awesome. Okay, why don't we take a break? We can all calm down. And then when we come back, we're talking magicians.
Magic wood.
Magic wood.
Magic wood.
Magic wood. Magic wood. To play is all you do.
Magic wood will stick together with no nails or glue.
Magic wood. Magic wood make things you never could. No other toy will stick together like magic wood.
Magic wood has a secret. It sticks together so you can build things, comes apart so you can build over again. Build hundreds of playthings from different shapes and sizes of brightly colored magic wood, like animals, planes, boats, rockets, alphabet letters, too.
Can you even build on the wall?
You could with magic wood. Add colorful plastic faces, wheels, sails to make your toys more exciting. Simply take pieces apart with a flip of your finger and start again. It's easy. It's fun.
Magic wood, you'll love the secret way. That magic wood will stick together. You can play all day.
And we're back. guys, this was my subgenre choice. It was magicians, and it could be real magicians, sorcerers, all of that kind of stuff, or it could be stage magicians. I'm putting 10 minutes on the clock for me, and I chose a kind of stage magician-y movie, and that is The Prestige.
Shoot me. Come on.
No, I can't
Do it! How'd you like that?
How do you do it?
Magic.
I'll perform this feat in a manner never before seen by yourselves or any other audience anywhere in the world.
The audience loved it.
This trick is top-notch.
You need to celebrate.
A real magician tries to invent something new. It's something that other magicians will scratch their heads over.
I suppose you have such a trick. Actually, I do. It's the one they're gonna remember me for.
What happened?
It was the greatest magic trick I've ever seen. I need to know how he does it. He has no trick. It's real. Every great magic trick consists of 3 acts. The first act is called the pledge. The magician shows you something ordinary, but of course, it probably isn't. The second act is called the turn.
He's obsessed with discovering your method.
The magician makes this ordinary something do something extraordinary. Now you're looking for the secret, but you won't find it. That's why there's a third act called the prestige. This is the part with the twists and turns, where lives hang in the balance.
Julie, come on!
And you see something shocking you've never seen before. This was built by a man who can actually do what magicians pretend to do. Real magic.
I know what you really are.
How does he do it? You want the truth?
Nothing is impossible.
Abracadabra.
No more secrets.
Secrets of my life.
2006. You
It's
guys
like-
like this movie,
Oh,
right?
I loved this movie.
Budget of 40 million, worldwide box office of 110 million. Rotten Tomatoes critics give it 76%, and the audience gives it 92%. So
Damn.
not just you guys like this movie.
Excellent.
Directed by Christopher Nolan, who has 17 credits, directing credits, including Memento, the Batman trilogy with Christian Bale, Inception, Dunkirk, and Oppenheimer, which just opened. Written by Nolan and also his brother Jonathan Nolan, who has 9 credits, including Memento, the Batman trilogy, and 36 episodes of the Westworld TV series. And also written by, based on the book by Christopher Priest. This threw me when I finally did some research on this, because this is not the Christopher Priest I thought it was.
Oh, really?
There is a comic book writer named James Owsley who changed his name to Christopher Priest, and I always thought that was this guy. But no, I have some interesting stuff to say about that too.
Cool.
Starring Christian Bale, who has 55 credits, Empire of the Sun, American Psycho, The Machinist, Reign of Fire, and of course the Batman trilogy. Hugh Jackman, who has 67 credits, including Van Helsing, Real Steel, The Fountain, and 11 various movies where he plays Wolverine. Also starring Michael Caine, 176 credits, including Get Carter, The Hand, and Jaws, The Revenge. And a very young, I had forgotten this, a very young Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
80 credits, including The Spirit, Under the Skin, Jojo Rabbit, and 8 various movies where she plays the Black Widow. Also in this is Piper Perabo, Rebecca Hall, Ricky Jay, Andy Serkis, and David Bowie as Nikola Tesla, which was about all I remembered from this movie when I decided to rewatch it. Holy shit. So we open on a very strange shot of dozens of top hats, like black magician top hats scattered through a forest. It's a really cool shot that is easy to forget unless you watch the movie again. And then we see Michael Caine explaining the 3 parts of a magic trick to a little girl as he shows her a disappearing bird trick. The little girl is also important too and very easily forgotten unless you watch the movie a second time. And I am imploring everyone to watch this movie again. It is so good. So the first part of the trick is called the pledge, where the magician shows you something ordinary, maybe a bird or something. Part 2 is called the turn, where he does something amazing, like making the bird disappear. And part 3 is called the prestige, where there is a twist, like making the bird reappear. And then we meet Robert Angier, who is Jackman. He's also, his stage name is the Great Danton, and he's a big-time magician in front of a huge audience as he attempts his transported man trick, where he walks under a giant Tesla coil and then disappears through a trapdoor. Except he falls straight into a giant tank of water that has been placed under the stage and automatically locks him in, and he starts drowning quite painfully. Another man, Alfred Borden, Christian Bale, he rushes under the stage just in time to see Robert die from the drowning. And then we get into our story, which follows like 3 timelines at once. One of them is that Borden is on trial for murdering Angier. Turns out that the 2 of them have been rival magicians for some time, and it appears that Borden somehow put the tank under the stage in order to finally get rid of Angier. He, of course, professes his innocence the whole time, and it does seem impossible that he could have orchestrated the tank and all that would require. Still, the trial does not go well, and Borden is found guilty, thrown in prison, and he will be executed shortly. While he's in prison, a man comes and offers to buy his magician's secrets for the man he works for, the mysterious Lord Caldlow. When Borden refuses, the lawyer reminds him that Borden's daughter is going to become an orphan and sent to the workhouse unless Caldlow intervenes. And as an incentive, he gives Borden Angier's diary to read, Angier being the magician that he is blamed for killing. So Angier's diary kind of frames the second storyline, which is from Angier's point of view, obviously. He has gone to meet Nikola Tesla because he thinks Tesla has built a machine for Borden's transported man trick, which Angier has been trying to figure out for years. So the transported man is simple. The magician walks through a door, disappears, and immediately reappears in another spot. And somehow Borden is doing this in a way that Angier just cannot figure out. Typically, it would be done with a lookalike, but Angier's like, nope, this is absolutely him doing this. But Tesla tells him that he never created a machine for Borden. And then the third storyline is Borden's diary from his point of view, where we got a lot of backstory. So it turns out that Borden and Angier were partners, both working for an elderly magician who also employs Michael Caine and Angier's wife, Julia. At one point, Julia is killed in one of their most famous tricks, an underwater escape trick. And Angier is sure it's because Borden tied the wrong knot. And Borden claims not to remember if he tied the wrong knot, and we actually never really find out, which I think is a really interesting way to tell the story, because you never know if this was a mistake and if all the shit that happens is just because of a mistake or if he was actually trying to kill Julia. So anyway, this kicks off a rivalry between the 2 men that has them showing up at each other's magic shows over the years. They are in disguises and volunteering as members of the audience in order to fuck up their tricks and shit like that. And then it starts turning pretty nasty. Borden has a bullet catch trick, and Angier shows up in disguise. And just before he pulls the trigger, Borden realizes, oh, fuck. This is Angier. He's pointing a gun at me. And Angier blows off 2 of Borden's fingers, which is then goes to show that, okay, whatever Borden is doing, the transported man trick, it's definitely him. He's missing the fingers when he comes out the other. Bless you. When he comes out the other side. So this is just driving Angier angrier and angrier. And the rivalry gets uglier and uglier, finally ends with the malfunction of the trick we saw at the beginning. So I'm not going to give away what happens in the movie. If you have not seen it, you really need to. Everything is explained, and it's all very, very dark for both men and the lengths they go to achieve their illusions. Man, I fucking love this movie, and I hadn't seen it since the first time.
Yeah.
So watching it again, I was like, this is fucking masterful storytelling. David Bowie makes for an amazing Nikola Tesla, which is all I really remembered. And although his part is very small, it is super important. I don't know if Bale or Jackman had ever been better than this movie. I believed every fucking minute of their rivalry. Scarlett Johansson, nearly unrecognizable. She's very young, but also not super glamorous. So she doesn't look like a movie star. But she is so good. She plays Angier's new assistant that he makes do some truly ugly shit. Trivia. The word prestige originally meant a trick from the Latin prestigium, meaning illusion.
Ooh.
The editing includes 146 time jump cuts in which the next shot either flashes back or skips ahead to another time period of the storyline. This averages to almost one timeline jump per minute of the movie. I put that one in there for you, Vanessa.
Wow, it's a lot.
Yeah.
David Bowie initially declined the role of Nikola Tesla when it was offered to him. Christopher Nolan flew out to him personally to tell him that he was the only person he imagined for the role and that his larger-than-life persona would make the idea of Tesla's role in the storyline believable. Upon hearing this, David Bowie changed his mind.
Yeah.
That would placate you.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. When Tesla's machines are being exhibited in the Royal Albert Hall, a man in the audience protests that Tesla's electrical current is unstable. Later in the movie, the same man appears in Colorado Springs as one of Edison's associates, proving that magicians, not the only ones who hide within their rivals' audiences.
Oh.
And then finally, one that I caught. Angier states that Tesla agrees to see him on February 8th, 1899 in Colorado Springs. Tesla didn't move to Colorado Springs until May of 89. Do not fuck with my Tesla knowledge.
Damn.
Man, this movie just blew me away. I've seen it before. I knew I liked it. I came away going, why don't I have this poster in my house? I think this suddenly went into my top 10 favorite movies of all time. It was just fucking brilliant.
Damn, that's cool.
That's incredible. I remember watching it in the theater and loving it, and I've never seen it since.
Oh, please watch it again.
Yeah, I really want to. I mean, I do remember. Did you remember what happened at the ending when you were watching this one? This time through?
Yes, I kind of remember that ending, but I didn't remember everything that that brought it together. To that. Yeah.
I really did not remember that there were like multiple time frames going on at the same time. So that's fascinating.
Yeah, and the little girl, that one, I realized who she was. Only, watching it this time, I was like, oh, that's who he's talking to, because it comes off as an old man talking to a young girl, but you don't realize who everybody is because it's right there at the beginning of the movie. So
that's incredible.
Damn.
So good.
Sounds good.
Nice. Okay, well, I chose a film that I had never seen before and pretty excited to finally check out because I've seen the movie poster like a zillion times. And that is Clive Barker's Lord of Illusions from 1995.
Something is watching. Something is listening. Something is coming.
How would you like to see the world the way it really is?
What's going on here?
Detective Harry Damour is walking a path.
I want you to help me. Will you take the job, Mr. Damour?
Where do I sign up?
Between what can be seen.
People are dying here. I want to know why. I've heard a name. Somebody they talk about in whispers.
Who?
Nix.
And what must be feared.
Nix is dead and buried. What the hell is wrong with you people?
Haven't you seen enough to know that doesn't matter?
Now.
I don't want him getting in the way. We've all of us waited too long to have the homecoming spoiled.
Every step he takes.
The drone to the dark side. Don't like that.
Not much.
It's your destiny. Accept it.
Brings him closer to the truth.
He could get into people's heads, make them see things. Terrible things.
See, that's his best trick. No illusions, just the truth.
If Nix is back from the dead, then he is some kind of a god.
In a world where magic is real, death is the ultimate illusion.
I was born to murder the world. Are you ready for my wisdom? Come with me, Damor. I've got so much power to give you. All you have to do is beg.
Clive Barker's Lord of Illusions.
This is a Rotten Tomato score of 58% from critics and 52% from audience. Not universally loved. Budget of 11 million, box office of 13.3 million. So not a crazy intake. Directed and written by Clive Barker, who has 7 credits to his name, including directing Hellraiser and Nightbreed. But he also wrote stories such as Candyman, Midnight Meat Train, Book of Blood stories, starring Scott Bakula, which I did not realize was going to be in this film, so that was very exciting for me. He has 80 credits. I love him as Dr. Sam Beckett from 97 episodes of Quantum Leap. He was in American Beauty, What We Do in the Shadows, and the biggest disappointment of any Star Trek fandom as Captain Jonathan Archer in Star Trek Enterprise, also 97 episodes.
Yeah, it's fair.
One of the worst letdowns for me personally, although I do sickeningly love the theme song. Kevin J. O'Connor is in this, 56 credits, including The Mummy as Benny. He's also in Van Helsing, Deep Rising, Gods and Monsters. Daniel Von Bargen, 85 credits, RoboCop 3 as Moreno. The Faculty, 15 episodes of Malcolm in the Middle, and lots of cops, priests, and military guys. And Famke Janssen, 79 credits, Jean Grey in X-Men. Also Xenia Onatopp and GoldenEye. Classy.
Always could tell a Bond.
So classy. The story follows a cult leader who's preparing to sacrifice a young child, a young girl, as his followers are holed up in a shack in the desert with him. An albino dude, I guess, he's like half albino, is his manservant and stays at his side when a group of men and women arrive with guns to save the girl and stop the cult leader, led by a guy named Swan. Swan is pretty nervous, but is determined to end this dude's reign. The group go in and find Nix, the cult leader, in a room flying on the ceiling with a chandelier of flesh and gore. As you do. Nix loves Swan, and even though he's there to kill him, really wants him to become his protege. He's just does not see that Swan just hates him. So he decides to gift him with part of his power, which seems to be quite magical in essence, and forces Swan to see everyone as these sort of disgusting, like fleshy creatures, like their skin is falling off and underneath it's all black gore and goo. However, Swan, even though everyone he loves and cares about who's around him starts to look like monsters, he still refuses to give up and binds Nix with this sort of face Iron Maiden that comes in several parts, killing him and then burying him very, 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 very deep. Years later, Scott Bakula is Harry D'Amour, a detective known for dipping his interest in the occult and is famous for saving a child in an exorcism. He gets a job to fly to LA and uncover an insurance fraud, but when following a lead, discovers Nix's cultist guy, the albino guy, torturing a fortune teller. The fortune teller gives him a clue before dying as to what might be happening and that maybe Nix might be rising back from the dead. Harry is then approached by a beautiful woman, the wife of a hotshot Vegas-style magician, Swan, who's a big deal now. She hires him to help Swan as she's really afraid for him. She knows something's going on. She's not sure what. Swan is murdered on stage as Harry attempts to figure out who kills him. He kind of goes down this really deep rabbit hole. He discovers that everyone who helps Swan initially take out Nix is being murdered, and the rumor of Nix rising again from the dead to destroy Earth may just be true. Also, Harry ends up banging the beautiful wife lady. So Lots going on in this movie. It's interesting. Like, there's this really cool mix between mystery noir and body horror that's sort of hard to piece together at first. Like, they're two very different kinds of stories that are mashing together. And I think sometimes it works and sometimes it really jars. So, when you're in like a horror film at the start, and then all of a sudden, like there's a beautiful woman coming into a detective office with her like big white hat, and she's like, obviously femme fatale, and it's like, "Oh, I've got a problem with my husband and only you can help." And you're like, "What is happening?" And, we've got Scott Bakula's a gumshoe. It's interesting. The whole film actually feels sort of like this metaphor of a gay relationship where a dominant older male cannot let go of a younger man who's breaking up with him.
Mm,
Like, it just
Consider the writer.
yeah, when you think about kind of what angle he's coming from, it feels very much like that. Um, Couple problematic things. Mostly, the young girl who's a kid at the start who gets saved by Swan is the hot wife later. She marries him as she feels she owes him, and you're like, when did this happen? At what point was he in love with you? Was he in love with you at the start? Because that's effed up, y'all. Um, there's lots of really good 90s practical effects that I liked a lot. Some truly terrible CGI, but the way they do it, the way it's handled is actually pretty fun. There's this like weird fleshy origami thing that's chasing
Yeah.
Scott Bakula at points, and that's pretty cool. I was a little disappointed with Scott's story. It did not come to fruition. Um, Scott Bakula, we start with him being well known for exercising a kid. He gets lots of visions. He has dreams of stuff. He even has like this sort of in touch essence with the fortune teller who dies. And he's told he walks the line between heaven and hell, but not really, because at the end, he just runs around hallways with a gun looking pretty lost and just shooting stuff. I thought he was going to somehow like also be powerful or somehow like be influenced by this magic or in any way have some otherness about him. Nope, he's just a gumshoe. Um, his story is very strange, but lots of interesting choices. I think having the magician Swan be like kind of a wet blanket who's often really scared to act, even at the end, he has to like talk himself out of getting out of the car to run and help take down Nyx. Like, there was a pretty cool choice in that of not just being like a perfect, lovable character. The cultists who are loyal to Nyx throughout. Um, Nyx, when he rises from the dead, he thinks they are so pathetic that he sacrifices them to the mud ground and like kind of just gets the mud to envelop them. And one guy is like pissed about it and starts flipping him off. And I thought that was beautiful. That's a good choice. Like, this guy really, he's tearing his hair out in 1 second, the next he's like getting sacrificed. Um, Fun use of the song "It's Magic, Magic, Magic" that goes from like the end of a very serious scene into a very fun scene. Very jarring, but also a fun song. Trivia. When casting for the film began, Clive Barker picked Famke Janssen's photo out of hundreds of initial submissions and declared, "This is Dorothea." She remained the only choice, although the filmmakers auditioned dozens of actresses for the parts. On seeing Barker's cut of the film, MGM decided that it was too long and there was too much time spent on dialogue scenes that occur in between scenes involving death and horror elements, so they've removed roughly 12 and a half minutes from the film.
Jeez.
Barker conceded as long as the director's cut could be released later and is known as the collector's edition. In 1996, Barker commented, "It's not 12 and a half minutes of blood and gore that was removed, it's actually the thematic guts of the movie." Clive Barker's character, Harry D'Amour, appears in multiple times in works by Clive Barker, including short stories The Last Illusion, Lost Souls, and novels The Great and Secret Show and Everville. Reflecting on the film in the 1996 documentary, The Making of Lord of Illusions, Clive Barker said, "I can look through the movie and every 2 or 3 minutes I'm saying, geez, why did I do that? Why did I do this? Well, the answer is, I got 50 things right and 30 things wrong, and that's pretty good batting average for me. You make your work and you move on, and you do that whatever medium you're in." Many consider this to be Clive Barker's weakest movie. And bands including Frontline Assembly, Jedi Mind Trick, Nevermore, and Last Days of Humanity all sampled the film for their albums.
Did you like the movie?
I did enjoy it. It's weird. It was nothing like what I thought it was gonna be. Having seen like Midnight Meat Train and Hauser, and
Sure. Yeah.
I was like, there's moments where you can see Barker like really there, but all the like noir stuff was so weird. It was like just not what I'm used to from him. But it was a fun film.
I remember liking it, but I have not watched it in a very long time, so I don't know what a rewatch would do.
I saw it in the theaters, and I kind of remember being kind of like, all right, that was okay.
Mhm.
But then every time I've tried to watch it since, it is so boring.
It's really goofy too.
Yeah, that I quit about halfway going, I think I just really want to like this movie, but I don't actually really like it.
There's like really fun moments. There's like a secret underground Hollywood magician circle that's pretty neat. And there's this guy who ends up teaming up with Scott for a little bit called Jimmy Who, and he's like this Asian magician guy, and he's really fun. Like there's little weird things in there, but he has like nothing to do. Like, why is there a team of underground magicians and they really don't do anything? And I don't know. There's like a lot of weird threads that are there and interesting, but don't go anywhere.
I can't remember which story this is based on, but it's based on one of the short stories. And I remember,
I think it's The Last Illusion.
yeah, I remember thinking that he really had to work hard to flesh it out.
Yeah. Yeah. From what I read, I didn't say this little factoid, but he had like 4 or 5 images in his head that he was like, I'm going to have these scenes exist, and then kind of wrote around them. So I think that might have been part of why I feel so disjointed.
Yeah.
Do you know if the cut stuff, was that reinserted for as long? Okay.
Yep. So anytime you watch, it does exist. So anytime you watch the collector's edition, that will always be with the extra 12 minutes.
Okay, cool.
Definitely the one I saw, because it had all the scenes that he was talking about being sad we're not in it. I was like, yep, I remember that scene. Yep.
All right, cool.
Eric, I'm putting 10 minutes on the buzzer.
Okay, well, we're going to surprise to long-term listeners. I'm doing the most recent film of the three of us.
Whoa.
3,000 Years of Longing from, I believe, 2022?
My name is Alethea. My story is true. I am a solitary creature by nature. I have no children, no siblings, no parents. I did once have a husband. If there is fate, who can say? But in the Grand Bazaar of Istanbul, I chose a memento. I like it. Whatever it is, I'm sure it has an interesting story.
So, what will you wish for? What is your heart's desire?
I do have a question. What does one do with 3 wishes?
You'll see.
Oh. There's no story about wishing that is not a cautionary tale.
We all have desires, even if they remain hidden from us. But it is your story, and I cannot wait to see where it goes.
Oh, how it might end. Hello. Hello. He'll be staying for a while. I'm beginning to wish we'd never met.
Don't say that! Make a wish! Save yourself!
I have a wish.
Rotten Tomatoes has it at 71, critics 73 for the crowd, which is fair. Budget of 60 million. Box office worldwide, 20 million.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Whoa.
This is available on Prime, or MGM Plus apparently now is a thing.
Yeah.
So, anyways, this is directed by a podcast favorite, probably, I would say, with George Miller,
Hmm.
who's best known for the Mad Max movies, Wishes of Eastwick, and Happy Feet 1 and 2. Diverse quality, with Babe also being in there. He's currently working on 2 more Mad Max movies.
Oh.
I don't know
Hurry up,
what'll
George.
happen. What's that?
Hurry up, George.
Yeah, no shit.
Mm.
Written by George Miller, who's also written some Mad Max movies, the Happy Feet movies, Babe, and Babe in the Pig City, which he also directed.
Love it.
And Augusta Gore, it's the only credit for this writer. Not sure. And A.S. Byatt, who wrote the original short story, The Djinn in the Nightingale's Eye, which this is based on. Starring Tilda Swinton, and you might know her from the Suspiria remake, maybe. Michael Clayton, Snowpiercer, The Dong with the Luminous Nose.
Oh, God.
And Adaptation, underrated film. And Idris Elba, who's in the current Apple show Hijack, which is pretty damn good. Cats, one of the highlights of his career, probably.
Oh, God.
Luther and the Thor Avengers movies. And also Macklemore and Ryan Lewis featuring Idris Elba Dance Off.
That's cool.
Wow.
And Prom Night and Absolutely Fabulous, which I did not know he was in.
Whoa.
So this is, like I said, with the title of the book, this is a Djinn movie. It opens with Tilda narrating that this is a true story, but she's going to tell it as a fable, or else you just won't believe it. The style is a great choice. It helps the movie a lot. The opening scene is interesting in the way it's stylized, with Tilda wearing bright, loud clothing, and everyone else she interacts with is either in white, gray, or black.
Mhm.
So she really stands out. And then until she starts to speak publicly and things start to go weird, then the whole audience is also in incredibly bright clothes. She's a writer that talks about the modern knowledge of science and how it upends all mythology. But giving this speech, he hallucinates something, some kind of a mythical creature being in the audience that says she's speaking rubbish. Some nice storytelling with the way she finds the Jinn. This is the line that leads to her finding the bottle he's in. If there is fate, can we escape it? Who can say? But I tell you this, in the Grand Bazaar of Istanbul, there are 62 streets and 4,000 shops. And in one of those shops, there are 3 rooms. In the smallest of those rooms, there was a pile of things unsorted, old and new. From the bottom of that pile, I chose a memento. And then she pulls out the bottle that has the Jinn in it. Main portion of the story, of course, Idris is the Jinn. When she releases him, he is gigantic. But he also remains kind of tall. And by the end, I couldn't quite figure out if he's just that much bigger than Tilda or if they just pumped him up a little bit as magical. But he seems like a very large guy in this movie. Most of it is him telling the history of how he was put into the bottle, going back to Queen of Sheba and King Solomon, who is portrayed as being very magically powerful. King Solomon, and puts him in a bottle and throws him to the bottom of the ocean. And he was in love with Queen of Sheba, so he spends the time trying to get back to her, but he's down the bottom of the ocean far longer than she is alive. After that, it is a lot of back and forth between Tilda and Idris kind of testing each other. Earlier, you mentioned the best scene in the Shield show was those 2 actors.
Right.
This whole movie is largely based on these incredible performers kicking ass together in a room. And then the rest of it is his flashbacks to how he moved forward through time and how his bottle was found step by step. And of course, Idris is narrating these, so it all sounds really cool. The idea is he's trying to convince her that doing these wishes, the 3 wishes he can give her, will be good. Because she's very much, I've read all the stories. I know how these 3 wishes things always end, and they never end well. And so his thing is very much, well, this is how I counseled my people who had their wishes to make sure their wishes went well. But of course, they all kind of don't necessarily end very well. She still doesn't believe him after that. The one thing the movie does really well, and I appreciate a lot, where almost every movie that has the three wishes trope is at some point somebody trips up by saying I wish in a stupid way. And she almost does stuff like that, and he stops her every time she starts to casually say, I wish, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, don't do that. She even says, I wish something. He's like, I'm not going to do that.
Oh.
So it's a really neat twist on it. And the relationship between the two of them grows and continues to become very interesting as the movie moves on. And I got to tell you, it's really good. It's George Miller. I mean, the guy directs a Penguin animated movie, and it's a shitload of fun. And then he goes on and does one of the best action movies ever created in this last Mad Max movie. So, does all right. It's the cinematographer is John Seal, the same guy who came out of retirement to shoot Mad Max Fury Road, came out of retirement again to shoot this. There's an idea historically presented that Jewish and Arab myths maintain that Queen of Sheba was half human and half demon, and a jinn as well. So apparently these are based on a lot of different mythologies. It was an Australian UK Turkey production shot in Turkey. Sure, why not? It premiered at the 75th Cannes Film Festival in May of 2022, where I always question these weird things, where it received a 6-minute standing ovation. It's like, what is it with Cannes and doing these ridiculous
I
things?
feel like everyone has a standing ovation or everyone walks out. That's the only two things that happen at Cannes.
And if it's only 6 minutes,
should be at least 8 or it doesn't count. It did really poorly though in the box office. I mentioned the amount it made. It opened in almost 2,500 theaters.
Oh wow!
So it's like Jesus. Variety said, wow, really? You came to this conclusion? A terrible result for a movie that's playing in thousands of theaters.
Wow, good quote.
Got that on your own. Well done, man. It was one of the biggest box office bombs of 2022. But I kind of agree with the one of the things is lack of advertising. I vaguely remember this film. I remember the poster. Nothing else about it. I didn't even know it was George Miller until I started to look up and go, oh, well, okay, let's check this out. We got 2 powerhouse actors and a pretty damn good director. At least it's going to be entertaining to watch, and it was fun. It was good.
And you didn't see it in theaters?
No.
Wow, okay.
Have you guys seen it?
I remember Vanessa not liking this, I thought.
I saw it. I liked parts of it. But there was definitely a weirdness towards the end that I wasn't as when their relationship develops into what it develops, I was like, what is happening right now?
Yes, it does get very weird.
But that being said, I think it was always going to be a little bit of a tough sell because it's so magical and fantasy films of that nature aren't as popular. That mixed with it felt like an early COVID. Like you can go to theaters, but a lot of people weren't yet. So it really felt like it stumbled in that way too. Like I remember being pretty much the only person in the theater for that.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I like the 70. I think that's a pretty solid rating on Rotten Tomatoes because I think there's a lot to like, but I could also understand why people would have weird.
The stories are really fun. Tilda Swinton's character is played in an awkward and unlikable way to an extent. So it's hard to be sympathetic towards her. But she is a great actress, and Idris Elba is incredible, and they have a very bizarre chemistry that's kind of fun to watch.
I think that's what I liked about Tilda, because her character was set up as being an entire loner. I have no interest in anybody else. I can't remember if she was divorced or her husband had died, but I've lived alone for this much time and I love it. So she was kind of set up to be sort of a brash, harsh person to anybody that offered her maybe something else. Like, no, I have everything I want. Like, you might be the only person in the history of this world to truly feel that way if that is true. Which, of course, it's not.
It's not.
This was George Miller's next film after Fury Road, wasn't it?
I believe so. Yeah.
I wonder if this is a one for the studio, one for me kind of situation. Because this is a pretty big budget for a small film like this.
Yeah, it really is. Could just be they had the next big guy in Aegis who sort of always seems to sit in that realm.
Yeah.
He's going to be the next big thing, but he's always just really freaking good. And
Yeah.
Tilda does what she does in anything she's in.
Yeah.
Well, cool. I haven't seen this, but you're making me feel like maybe I should give it a shot.
Like I could see disliking it, but it's sort of one of those, like, if you watch it as a fable with the fantasy element right in the forefront, it works really well.
Nice. Okay, well, Eric, I believe this next subgenre pick is
it mine?
It's yours. I just picked
Oh,
magicians.
no, it's,
What the fuck are you
It's yours.
talking
No,
about?
it's Vanessa's.
It's
It's
fine.
not mine.
It's yours,
It's
Vanessa.
fine. That's okay. So, you know what? We had a special request come in from one of our listeners. I think that was Micah.
No.
Yeah, I
And
think
Friend of
some
the show.
It
dude.
definitely was Micah. And he had a special request just for me, but I don't want to suffer alone. So I'm going to take the topic behind this movie, which he wants me to watch Down, aka The Shaft.
Right.
So we're going to go with high-rise horror.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in that subgenre, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily your movie, though.
We shall see. We'll find out.
Okay, well, then that means this is the part where we thank everybody for liking, sharing posts, sharing when we release the episodes. That's always fun to watch and see who's done that, for mentioning us on YouTube and all of that. I don't make it onto the YouTube channel very often, but when I do, I like to see who said what.
Yeah.
And that's always fun. You can also leave us a message at 253-237-4266, like Vanessa should have when she was late today.
I left a message. I just didn't have the phone number, so I left it on my phone in our app, and it sounded very bad.
Yep.
So.
And that's it, I guess. So we'll be back in 7 short days. We are talking high-rise horror. See you next Thursday.
Transportation and other considerations for Strange Eons Radio, produced by Pan Am Airlines. When you think of traveling, think of Pan Am. You can't beat the experience. Guests of Strange Eons Radio stay at Econo Lodge Everett. It's an easy stop on the road, if you know what we mean. Strange Eons Radio is recorded live in front of a studio audience. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving us a positive review on your favorite podcast app. Sit, Ubu, sit.
But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I thought a lot of people would see it.